What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the locker room. I am your host and your favorite Kansas City girl, Kennedy Bright. And as always, what is said in the locker room stays in the locker room. Get your playbooks ready, guys. What's good, rookies? Welcome back. In this week's episode, we are going to discuss how I create genuine relationships with athletes. I know it can be hard sometimes to seem different or to stand out when you're talking to a guy and, not want to give off groupie vibes or, whatever it is that you feel. The information I'm going to give you, okay, is to share it with only girls, who want to create serious relationships in a good way, not girls who have other intentions but want to play with men's minds and, try to act like you're genuine and you're actually not. But this is for girls who's like, I've been talking to a guy, I met a guy, and I want to seem genuine. Sometimes I am interested in his life, but I don't want to come off like I'm groupie-ish, you know what I'm saying? So this is for those girls, okay? And only use it for good intentions, okay? Do not use this for bad intentions, all right? Like if you're out here, you're a girl out here hunting, trying to find these men, this is not for you, okay? This is not for the girls hunting. I do best giving my tips and giving my opinions on things based off either talking about an experience I've had with a guy and explaining to you things I've learned, or in this case, comparing two situations from a time that I had like the most genuine relationship with a guy and the time that I definitely didn't. And we're going to talk about both of them, okay? So you guys can learn from what I've done. Now, let's get into it. Creating a genuine relationship. Okay, so it may be hard. Well, that's if you know football and know players, but let's be real. Pretty much most of the girls who follow any of my content don't really know football that well and definitely probably don't know players. So it should not be hard for you at all. You have no excuses. The first step before anything that I tell you is you have to be with an athlete and someone who comes off as genuine, okay? This is just my opinion, and of course it's easy for me to say, but it kind of goes back to what I just said. My first opinion and first step into having and creating something genuine with the athlete is first off, you letting them come to you and you not coming to them. First off, that's how I do it. Every guy I've talked to, every athlete, which is every guy I've talked to, all of them always come to me. And that is a way that I like to level the playing field a little bit. There is no such thing as, oh, you coming after me because I got this money, you coming after me because I'm an athlete, like all this. You came to me. So it kind of already brings that down a little bit. I still care to have genuine relationships, but it does bring that down a lot when you allow the man to come to you and not you go to him. So he can never throw in my face that I came after him for any type of reason. I had no ulterior motives because you came after me. So that's number one, is the easiest way. And if you are one that wants to shoot your shot with an athlete, I mean, I'm all for shooting your shot, but you got to really think about why. Why are you shooting your shot with him? And make sure it's actually genuine, because you can't still have genuine if that's not the case. I will say in college, it was a lot easier to create genuine relationships with athletes, probably because one, we were peers on the level of we both were college athletes. So that was one. And two, even if I wasn't a female college athlete, in college, it's a little bit different. You're my peer. We're equals. Like what? You get free tuition and you get a stipend every month. Like, boy, stop playing with me. It was easier on a college level than obviously when it comes to NFL, NBA, whatever professional athlete realm that you talk to. But honestly, it's still going to apply. Even if in high school, you might have a guy who's a really good 5-star athlete, it's still going to apply the same to him and college athletes as it would to a professional athlete. So it's still good advice. We are going to start with my first ever experience with a professional athlete. Let's go back in time, okay? So one, when I met him, I honestly had no clue who he was. Like literally, I was like, I don't know who you are. And the first thing is, it was not because one, that he wasn't known or that he wasn't a player that was good. That's not the case. And that's something you need to also factor in case your friends or anyone doesn't know who he is. That doesn't mean he's not good. Honestly, to be in the mainline media, it's really hard to get your recognition in a sport or in a world where everyone's pretty much good. I honestly didn't, simply because at that time, I wasn't really big on the NFL or football as I am now. I liked football and I really only paid attention to Ezekiel Elliott and the Cowboys. That was it for me. Now I kind of study football a little bit more. So at this time, I had no clue who he was. So that kind of actually helped me a little bit to not already kind of put him on a pedestal in my mind. And the reason I want to share this experience, it not just actually because it's my first experience, but actually because it is seriously the most genuine one that I've had from the beginning. And I look back at it and I'm like, damn, I really played that well. And not played it well, as in played it like a game, but the way that it played out, it's probably the best formula that I probably would ever keep and continue to use for future athletes to come my way. First things first, it actually honestly starts with the guy. You have to start with the guy who is very genuine, who is down to earth, and someone who is not cocky and doesn't use his sport as something to use as like a power or a weapon. Okay, so it really starts with the guy. So honestly, if the guy brags about himself, wants to talk about himself all the time, and thinks he's a shit, to be honest, this is not gonna matter. It's not gonna matter what you do. Like, he's an asshole. I'm sorry, he is. So it really starts with how the guy is first. Luckily for me, this guy was not cocky at all. He was very sweet, very down to earth. He didn't act like, sometimes you interact with a guy and he just acts like you should flock to me because I'm in the league. Like, it wasn't that case. He never brought up anything about football, his talent, like nothing. He was very just normal. Okay. Not only are you wanting a guy who is genuine, you really want to talk to him and deal with someone who is a person that's more than just a football player. And if you're like, Kennedy, how do I know that? What does that mean? Him being more than just a football player honestly just means you're dealing with a guy who has good qualities, has things that he cares about in the world. When he was in college, what was his major? What was he studying? Can he tell you what things he wanted to do in life besides be in the NFL? Do you see what I'm saying? He's someone who has other aspirations, other desires in his life than just playing football. Because honestly, guys, this is just my personal opinion. If he doesn't have any of those other things, automatically he's a no for me. Like, I'm not talking to him. I don't care who you are. I don't care how many rings you have. I don't care where you were drafted, Pro Bowler, whatever, Hall of Famer. I'm not talking to you because you don't have anything to you besides just football. So that is kind of, for me, that's like my kind of deal breaker. And so if you can make it past that level, then you're good. But that's something that I think you need to first understand, because if you're dealing with someone who has more to him than just playing football, then it's going to be easier for you to create that genuine relationship and to be able to have a conversation with him and a relationship with him that is more than just football based, if that makes sense. So it's really just starting, like I said, with the base of who the person is and the foundation of the kind of guy that he is. And honestly, if you're dealing with a guy who, it doesn't have qualities that you need, and you're dealing with someone who is cocky or just, you're not really vibing with it, you have to stick to yourself. Girl, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if he is first round overall, it doesn't matter. He plays on Sundays, so what? Okay, you gotta cut him off, because you'll just put yourself into a pattern and a cycle of just putting up with crap from just different guys, even if it's not him, just because of who he is. And you never want to do that. It's just not a good way to set yourself up. I understand, it can be difficult, girl, to sit here and be like, oh my God, and not infatuated and just be flattered by a guy of high power wanting to be with you. I understand it, but I'm telling you, sticking true to yourself is going to feel a lot better in the end, because we're going to get into it, because I'm explaining to you a time I did not stick to myself or my gut. And yeah, nothing bad happened, nothing like traumatic, but afterwards I was like, girl, why would you fooling with this man? So that's just one of my advice I want to give you, straight off up front. So yes, we have to start here with the base of him before we even get to how you can handle yourself and how you can have that genuine relationship. Okay. So now we're going to get into everything that went on and how I created that good base with him before we even linked up or met. Okay. Let's talk about, like I said, before we met. So it really starts before you even meet him, before you guys link up to go for dinner, before you fly to go see him, whatever the case may be. It really starts before then. It starts with the texting or the DMing, whatever it is. Like I said, this guy, I didn't know who he is. I did not care who he was. I just saw him as a guy, and he played football, and that was just his job, because that's how I was still in college. And so in college, that's how I saw all athletes. You literally are just an athlete, just like me. And I never saw them as higher than. Now, don't get me wrong. Now I'm like, damn, you're an NFL player? You kind of that dude. You know what I'm saying? Because you're in that 1% bracket. In college, it's not really like that. So that's why my mindset, my vibe off rip was just he's another guy. He's an athlete that I talk to. That's all I talk to. Congratulations. You made it through door one. He was a professional athlete, like I said, but to me, I only saw it as that's his job. It's his title. So what I used to see it as, now, like I said, I struggle with it. It used to be for me, literally his job is just a job. It's just like if he has a job in tech. Let's be real. If you're not interested in tech, I don't give a crap about what you do in tech. Oh, what's your profession? You just want to know what he does. Oh, I work in tech. Okay, cool. Keep it moving. On with the conversation. What else? You're not going to sit here and talk to a guy that you're interested in about his tech business unless, like I said, you're also interested in tech. Think, I'm like, oh my God, tell me about it. So that is something that helps you. Just think of it as a regular job. Think of it as something you don't understand. Because, like I said, let's be real, girl, you probably don't understand it, but I can teach you. But think of it as a job you don't even know, a job you don't understand. He says it, it's a fact, and you move on. And so at that time in my life, that's how it was. Oh, you play for blank? Okay, cool. Next, what's the next conversation that we're going to have? It was literally a Sunday. I'm texting him like, hey, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you going to church today? And my mom's like, before he even texted me back, my mom's like, Kennedy, like, it's Sunday. He probably has a game. And he's like, I have a game, remember? I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. Like, when I tell you I never watched any of this man's games, I couldn't tell you. Okay, I might have was able to tell you his number. I don't know if I was able to tell you his number, but I probably couldn't tell you his number. I could tell you his position just because I knew football positions. I wasn't that football dumb. But like that was pretty much like it. And that was because he told me his position. But I honestly, no, I didn't know anything. Like I said, I literally forgot Sunday was church day. It was a day of the week for me. Like that's how oblivious, to give you an idea, that I was to the type of man that I was talking to. And one of the things that I did without even knowing that was actually good. And the next advice I'm going to give to you is never watch his games. Okay. Do not watch his games. Don't find him on Google. I mean, you can look him up if you want to see if he's real. I mean, I Googled him to see if he was real. That was it. Just to cross like some of the stuff he was saying, just to make sure, because I did have a friend who had just got catfished like a couple weeks before by a basketball player who was at my school. So of course I'm like, oh, am I getting catfished? Like there's no way an NFL player, so trying to make sure, and he was real. That was it. Didn't read any articles, didn't look anything up, couldn't tell you nothing about him, okay? And the reason that I say you don't want to look up any information before he gives it to you is because, one, honestly, I find it rude. It's a little bit rude to look up all the facts about him. Another thing is, you don't give him a chance to get to tell you things he wants to tell you. You don't get a chance to have genuine conversations, because if you're sitting here asking him about his family and where he's from and all that, but you've already read all these articles about him, you're already starting off not genuine, okay? Because it's much better to me, and I only can speak for myself, when I'm sitting here and a guy is telling me about himself. Yeah, I could probably Google it and probably look up an article and find it. But it really is more impactful when he's the one sitting here and telling you about it. And so I think it's better. And another thing too, oh my God, with NFL players or just professional athletes, anyone who has a dang Wikipedia or has a profile online, do not look up their birthday. Ask them his birthday. I'm telling you, it hits different. You want to know why? Because literally everyone that's in the professional athlete world, they have a Wikipedia and their birthday's on there and their hometown and their college or whatever. When you sit there and you ask him, like I literally asked him, I was like, hey, what's your birthday? And he looked at me and he was like, it's blank. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't get it at the time until later. It was like, you asked me that, but like, it's on Google, right? And I was like, I didn't Google you. And he was like, really? And like, they honestly find it so flattering that this person is taking the time to sit here, get to know me, ask me questions. Now, mind you, I did forget his birthday later. That was a problem. So I did have to go back on Google and look it up. But that was because I forgot, because I wasn't like paying attention. But they really admire the fact that you are not being like everyone else that is just looking to the media and looking at articles. You're sitting here and treating them like a normal person, because at the end of the day, a genuine athlete, he wants to be treated as normal at some points, and he wants to have that genuine relationship with you. So that is something that I would say. And two, I think a lot of people have to understand it's different than when just like talking to a regular dude, you look at his mom's Facebook. Looking at someone's mom's Facebook is cool, but articles has a lot of information about them. So you're going to find out so much stuff. I feel like when you look at people's mom's Facebooks, you're on there really just looking for information that like you might not ever know, or baby pictures or something like that. Oh my God. But the thing is, on articles, it has their whole life on there. So you're finding out stuff that you could always just wait and he just tell you later. So I think it works out better doing it that way. And that's a way to honestly stay genuine and true to yourself. And don't ask a bunch of questions like a reporter. That's what they think. I mean, I asked a bunch of questions because I'm like, bro, are you a reporter? You the media? I say, I'm a sports reporter, right? So yeah, I'm going to ask you 1,500 questions. Like, get over it. But if that's for not your profession, and like, I said that in a funny way. Like, I wasn't literally like asking him for an article, but just try not to ask them too many questions. It can make them feel like they're in like an interview. If you're like hitting questions back to back, ask them questions and then, oh my God, really? Like, why is that your favorite candy? Or like if he says, oh no, I don't eat that. What? How do you not eat that? Like, just talk to him like he's a normal person. It really helps them feel down to earth and can make them like you more because they're having that normal relationship and they're not feeling like you are literally coming off like you're talking to them because you're after something, or you care to know about their lifestyle because you want to know how popular, how famous he is. Don't ask him, oh my God, do you hang out with your teammates and stuff like that? You could be asking just to be asking, but to him, he might be thinking you're trying to tally up how worthy he is to keep messing with him because you will know if he's that athlete or not. Okay. Another huge important thing about not looking up, you know, anything about him football wise, not watching his games and not looking up highlight tapes, no articles, whatever. You never want to know how good or how bad an athlete you talk to is. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason you don't is because, one, it has nothing to do with the quality of a person. It is truly disrespectful for you to sit here and not want to talk to a guy because he's not good. Like, that's ridiculous. What does how good he is in a sport have to do with you? Okay, so one, that's rude. Two, let's be real, okay? If you're talking to a guy who is either really good, you sometimes can let them slide with certain things because you're like, well, he's that dude. So I'm gonna kind of let him slide because, and you don't even think you're doing it. You're doing it subconsciously, but you'll let him slide and let him get away with things because you see the potential and who he is in the lifestyle, and you might not, honey, ever get there. So that does happen. And two, sometimes you can treat him crappy or not want to deal with him because you think he's not good. So I recommend not doing it. And honestly, too, a player, they can always get better. So just because he's not this, or that when you're talking to him doesn't mean he doesn't have the potential to get there. But then again, how he performs on a field on Sunday does not matter to your life. So don't be that shallow girl who, I want to know how good he is. Where was he drafted? Like, girl, what are you doing with your life? 9 times out of 10, you probably not that popping yourself. And even if you are, you could be a doctor. That doesn't matter how good of an athlete he is. Okay. So I think it's rude, and just don't do it. And y'all know how y'all are. Y'all know if y'all know a dude is not good, you can be like, girl, I ain't talking to him because he's not good. So like I said, that's all my tips for before we even linked and just the communication. Now let's talk about once he and I actually linked, the in-person interaction. Okay. So we linked, of course, a few different times, but let's talk about like the vibes in general. Number one thing is we do not talk about football. Okay. If he's a guy, like I said, who is genuine, the last thing he wants to do is talk about himself or talk about football. That is what he does 24/7. He doesn't want to talk about that. Okay. And of course, if you're talking to him and he brings it up, like that's completely different. Or if you can tell he's having a bad day and you want to know what's going on, like that's different. But he doesn't want to talk about football. Okay. He wants to use his time with you to feel like a normal person. So try to make him feel as normal as you possibly can. If going back to the whole, if he is, seems stressed, be his peace, but that does not mean being his doormat, okay, and doing whatever it is. If he's like, oh, I'm stressed, go walk my dogs. Oh, I'm stressed, can you do my dishes? Oh, I'm stressed, can you do my like, girl, don't get played, okay? Be his peace, but don't be a doormat. That's not what I'm saying. But being his peace is simply, if he's sitting here and he's like, sometimes they don't have to say it, but you kind of can tell, and he's like doing his laundry and y'all are just sitting there watching TV, just be like, hey, I'll help you fold your laundry. Like little things like that, just helping him do things helps. Even if you don't want to do like physical things, of course, because you're like, I don't know him. It's my first time over here. I don't know if you want me touching his underwear drawer. You know what I'm saying? Just talk to him about whatever conversations you talked about through text. If y'all been talking about a TV show, talk about the show that you've been talking about. If you guys have been, talking about a movie or something, like just try to find things that you would do with your friends, your female and guy friends. It's the same thing you want to do with him. What would you want to do or talk about when you're stressed? Me and one of the guys that like I'm very close to, we can sit in the same room and do completely opposite things. And just being in the same room is just so comforting. And it's something that I love. I like that about our relationship. That now, don't get me wrong, I want to be all in his face when I'm with him. But the thing is, sometimes when he's in season or stressed, whatever, and I know he is, and I can't be all like obsessive in his face, just sitting in the same room is something about it is very calming. So that's also something that I would recommend. You don't always have to talk. You don't always have to do things. Recommending a show or a movie is good if you've already been texting, you probably know what type of stuff he likes. It's very to that athlete. Like every guy I've talked to is super different. So like our vibe can be different. I mean, our conversation or what we do can be different, but our vibe is always a peaceful, relaxing, no drama, we're not nagging. Yeah, that's my experience of a positive one. Now let's talk about the experience the time that wasn't so much. Okay, so by this time that I met this guy, I already had plenty of the athlete and NFL professional life experience. So I've already had the endorphins, the excitement, you know what I'm saying? Everything in between. Your girl was like, ooh, this life is it. So honestly, a little bit of it was my fault already, but it wasn't my fault. Okay, I saw a lifestyle and I was like, oh my goodness. But I did make, like all of these mistakes here that, could hurt me in the future, but I've learned from them. And so here they are. When he first contacted, I was like, oh, okay, cool. We kind of chatted. I didn't really care when he contacted me just because, like, it's nothing for me to, I mean this in the most humble way possible. It's nothing for me to get a DM from a blue check. It's nothing for me to get a DM from an NFL player. Like, congrats, join the line, like, getting the rest of the requested. Right? But he was cute. So I was like, okay. And the mistake I made, I went and looked up this man's highlight tapes. And when I tell you it is something, well, this time I have studied football, all the positions. I know it really well. It is something, like, y'all don't understand. It is something about, babe, when you see a man doing his job well. Highlight tapes is only when they do good. I love watching highlight tapes. It's bad because I love football so much. Seeing, like, the stuff that I studied and being able to see him do it so well and do it correctly, bro, I was in love with this man. I was like, oh my God, he is good. Okay. Like, I was so hyped. And when I was watching one of his highlight tapes, okay, so let me explain this first. At this time, the only NFL drafts I've ever have actually watched was 2020 and 2021. That's because I was doing sports reporting by then, so I was covering the NFL drafts. Other than that, I've never watched an NFL draft. So anyone who's ever been drafted, I can't tell you. I mean, I know the athletes now, of course, but I can't tell you when they were drafted, what year, any of that. So I'm watching one of his highlight tapes, and it was kind of like the evolution of him from a college player to the NFL. And it had a clip in there of him being drafted in the NFL. And I'm like, this man was a first round NFL draft pick? Pause. Like, I was like, so at this point, I really have this man. He is hype in my head. Okay. And like I said, my biggest kryptonite is a man who plays his position well. It's game over for me. So this is when I discovered at this moment, what was the difference between guy number one and guy number two? Kennedy, you looked at his highlight tapes, you researched him. So now I'm telling you, I don't do it no more because I'm not putting myself in this position again. Okay. I was in love with this man already. And we never even linked. At this time that I discovered all of this, we probably have chatted, girl, barely a day. Okay. Because I was like, who is this man? Like, let me just kind of see. Sometimes I'll see a play and I'm like, oh yeah, I recognize him from this team or whatever. So like, let me see what's up. Girl, biggest mistake. I'll never do it again, okay? I started watching all his interviews and he talked really well. He had manners. I was like, his fine ass, bro. Like, let me girl, got me thinking about him again. Let me stop. So at this point, like I'm telling you, I'm in love. Okay. So I'm watching all this and like, no offense, but the better the player is, the higher he has, like, all these interviews, like from college to now. Okay. So sometimes you'll meet a guy and he'll only have interviews in like media once he gets in it. So yeah, I went down the rabbit hole. Like I said, I'm looking at tapes and interviews from college to the league. And when I came out that rabbit hole, my mindset was, I am going to do whatever I can to make this man mine. Girl, any other dude I talked to, who, my friends know, I was in love with this man. I was in love with him, but I was in love with the player. I was not in love with him. I was in love with his athleticism. I didn't get that at the time, but baby, let me tell you, it was game over for me. And my dumb ass, I'm over here like, bro, my athleticism, my speed, his athleticism, these babies is about to be fired. Like, girl, how are we getting to the babies? How are we getting to the babies? Girl, I don't even know the man's middle name. I probably don't even know I knew his last name, but that don't really count. Technically, I didn't know his last name, if I didn't like Google him, but you see what I'm saying, okay? Kennedy put herself in a bad position. Why? Because now I saw him in this like high level. I saw him as better than me. I saw him as someone who is high up. I saw him as, oh my God, I'm with him. I'm winning. And when you get to that point, you start to let anything slide. Okay. You're going to let anything slide that he does because you want to keep him around. You want to do, I ain't saying that he wasn't doing nothing bad. Like, nothing bad, but it's just like little stuff that you be like, girl, X, he's gone. He's this, he's gone. I mean, but like one thing was like, I don't know, I don't really care about my degree. I don't need that. I'm set for life. Like that comment right there, girl, normally would have got him X'd out. But because I knew who he was, and I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. Who cares about what you studied in college? Like, I'm making stuff slide.
This is editing Kennedy. I had to come in here real quick to let y'all know I forgot something. Not to mention, I started seeing the Instagram profile. I started to see, how all the stuff he was buying his mom. I saw all the cars he had, the type of whips this man was driving. I said, oh, he's rolling in dough. Let's not forget the cars and the buying the mama's houses and cars and stuff. It was game over for me. I was down bad.
Like, I'm making stuff slide. So, like I said, when I went back and looked at the differences, that's the difference that I discovered. When you know a guy is that guy, you let other things slide. You really do. And this is, like I said, this is all before I even met with him. I even hung with him in person, felt the vibes. Like, what? It didn't matter what happened during that link. Like, I can't even tell you what happened during our link. That is sad. I honestly don't remember. Why? Because I was so in a daze. I was in a daze. And I felt like, honestly, because I didn't know the quote-unquote rules or the things that I did or the steps I made with the first guy is why, things weren't the same. But trust me, I learned from my experience. I learned, and that's why I'm here to tell you about it now. And the thing is, girl, I didn't even end up liking him. Like, I really didn't. I was just really blinded by what could have been when it came to what I saw on tape and interviews. But he really wasn't, he really wasn't all that. And I did snap out of it at some point. It all went down with some BS that happened. But listen, we ain't even gonna talk about that, okay? But just know it was some BS, alright? Nothing bad happened or whatever, but it was, you ever get yourself in a situation and you're just like, as you're in the moment, you're like, bro, this ain't even me. Like, you's a bum. Like, it was kind of like that. Like, you're not even the kind of, you're really not that guy. You're that guy on Sunday, but baby, you're really not that guy. Like, why am I here? And then, you deal with someone. I just realized now, when I looked back at the situation, that's probably the first time I ever was like a fangirl. Like that kind of vibe, And I learned my lesson. Okay, me and my friends gave him a nickname. I almost said it, but he knows the nickname, and so if I call him, I'm not gonna do that. I don't know if he listens to my stuff, but that's why I didn't want to give details of like what happened. Listen, I don't want him getting mad at me or nothing and being like, damn, that's how you really feel about me. Like, I have not, girl, listen, this man's like, I want to see you, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm back to normal. Like, Kennedy's back. And so I just know now to never look at highlight tapes and never, like, you think I gave all those rules at the beginning as a joke? No, this is why I give the rules. Because next thing you know, you doing crazy stuff. You driving 2-3 hours for this man. So embarrassing. And you're like, what am I doing about it? Okay, scratch that. There's no way I can tell the story. So we're just gonna leave it at that. Just know you're doing some crazy stuff, okay? And you don't want to be that girl and you don't want to do crazy things. But the biggest thing is, honestly, just act like you don't know who they are and you don't know what they do. But one thing I'll say, that I made a major mistake. And I probably should have told you this earlier, so guess what? If you didn't make it this far, it sucks to be you, because you're not gonna about to get the tea. The mistake I made was with the first guy. He was so normal and everyday and anybody can do your job. To me, like, that's how I acted towards him, that it also made him then not feel important and made him feel insecure. And so I think you do have to find that healthy balance of making sure he knows, like, you're that dude. Like, I'm proud of you. Like, man, I'll talk every now and then, you know what I'm saying? Like, once y'all, like, together, make it be known, like, my man's in the league. My man is this or that. No matter what he does, your man could be an accountant or something. Like, whatever it is that he does, men want to feel like you kind of look up to them. Men want to feel like you like what they do, that you're proud of them, or whatever the case may be. And that was something that I didn't do, and so that's something that I do regret. I should have took a combination of the two situations and mixed them together and really hyped him up, in a positive way. Not like making him feel better than others or better than me, but hyped him up in a positive way. I would like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, even if he had a good game, I don't think I ever told him. And so now I know when I move forward with guys, I'm always, kind of like, oh my God, you had a great game. Like, not being funny, but like being serious. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of this play. Or I'm sending him clips I took or something. I try to find a healthy balance in how to support him so that he knows I'm proud of him and I think that what he does is great, because I've now seen what it's like when I'm too harsh and act like you're not, like, I don't say you're nothing and stuff like that, but you know what I'm saying, that too nonchalant. So finding that healthy medium is perfect. I really want to do an episode on finding being the ideal girl, and so maybe that'll be something we'll talk about in it. But I do want to say I hope that really makes sense, finding that balance. I hope these tips make sense. Please don't leave Kennedy in the second one, and maybe in a couple years I can tell y'all the full story about Mr. First Round Pick. Maybe I can tell y'all the full, that's what I'm gonna call him because he don't know that name. Maybe I can tell you the story about it in some years, but as of right now, I'm sorry, I can't. Anyway, I didn't sign an NDA or nothing like that, but I'm waiting for a guy to pull an NDA on me. At this rate, with my social media and my podcast, one of these days. I hope all this made sense. If you have any questions or anything, or something didn't make sense, be sure to comment down below on YouTube or DM me on the Instagram at Casey Locker Room Talk. As always, you can get the merch on CaseyLockerRoomTalk.com. If you've already bought some, I'm posting girls who are wearing the merch and putting them on the highlight tab and everything. Thank you guys so much as always. I hope this episode makes you feel good tonight. Alright, talk to you guys later. Bye.